We are facing trial, and you will see why in a moment. And allow me, basically, we should introduce ourselves quickly. My name is Ronnie. I'm a conscientious objector to military service, a member of the BDS campaign, active participant of the boycott, investment, and sanctions campaign against Israel, and now also part of the Humboldt 3. And we have gone to a German university a couple of years ago in June 2017 to disrupt an Israeli representative, a member of the Israeli Knesset, basically telling her that she is a representative of the criminal apartheid regime, and explained our views on the subject. To say a few words about yourself?
Oh, I'll read.
You want to hear what they do with
I'll
the
take
Indian
her.
stuff? The Ashkenazi
I'm Stavit. I'm like Ronnie emphasizes, I'm a privileged Israeli Jew. Been living the last 10 years, around 10 years in Germany, mostly in Berlin. I'm a sociologist, and at the moment I teach philosophy in Berlin, but mostly I'm an anti-apartheid activist, and I've been involved in resisting Israeli apartheid for over a decade now. Yeah, and also been a part of this action, which won us 2 accusations of trespassing and assault. You can judge for yourselves whether we won it fairly, rightfully or not. Yeah, so, and I'm very honored to be among my comrades, Polly and Majed.
Thank you. And also to continue, you have a book. Will be going out soon?
Next month.
Next month?
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah, it's, the book is based on my doctoral research. It's called Sociological Knowledge and Collective Identity, and it focuses specifically on how sociology in Israel was shaped and helped reshape Zionism, basically. But this will happen next month, and it will be published by Routledge. So hopefully it will be available also in this lovely library here in Bern University. But don't get your hopes up. You know,
just too humble, okay? Anyway, you can check it. My name is Majed. I am the only Palestinian among the 2 Humboldt 3. We are, as always, equal in the co-resistance, not the coexistence for now, because we have an apartheid to fight against. So I'm really glad to be with both of them. I am normally active in the BDS movement for a very long time, and I normally was active in Palestine and in Gaza with lots of campaign that called to end the blockade of Gaza and mainly put crimes against humanity in Gaza in the international arena here. I'm also active in many universities. I study at the moment philosophy and theology in Berlin, and I think that's what I can say for now. I'm glad to be here with you guys. It's really always nice to visit Bern and meet the activists and the friends of Palestine here. Thank you.
So let us start with showing you a glimpse. This is an edited version of what was happening in that university, Humboldt University, and we can just put everything in context, and then we can carry on the discussion.
Yes, movement, however,
speaking is Aliza Lavie, member of Knesset.
And half-trush truth, TV and thirst for the delegitimization of the state of Israel. And just last week, where Israel hosted the largest LGBT event, the parade, biggest parade in Tel Aviv. We are accused of pinkwashing. This is the word they describe us. Pinkwashing, and that in the only country in the Middle East where the LGBT, community, both
Aliza Lavie, you are a representative of a criminal apartheid state. I am an Israeli citizen in support of the BDS campaign. Now, you talk about pinkwashing. Please tell the audience how Israel, while embracing LGBT in Tel Aviv, how the Israeli army actually out Palestinians from the closet, how they threatened to out Palestinians. You are a representative of a criminal apartheid regime. This is not only my view, this is the view of the UN. According to the UN report, she is not a legitimate representative. According to legal scholars Tilly and Falk of the UN, they accuse Israel of apartheid. That Israel is complicit, practices the crime of apartheid throughout the territory under its control and beyond. Israel also practices apartheid towards Palestinians here, Palestinians who are refugees here in Berlin, who are denied the right to go back home. Aliza, you should know apartheid because you were representing in Bern, South Africa. So you have seen firsthand both Israeli apartheid and South African apartheid. Do you think that boycotting South African apartheid was legitimate at the time? Sir, do you think that boycotting South African apartheid was legitimate at the time?
Let them answer.
Majed.
Because they are talking the truth, because they're telling you how apartheid, I have seen it here, it's all recorded by the way, leave it. Every I've seen it, this guy wants to stop there, he wants to shoot her. He smacked her in it. Calm down, I'm talking. Talk about human rights, talk about apartheid state, talk about Adala. A human rights organization where all you committed. Talk about why Benjamin Netanyahu didn't want to meet the German foreign minister. Talk about all the crime you made in Gaza. You're just a criminal, criminal.
I think you very much have seen the video. You've been with us somehow in the video. We try to show you as much we can from this video. For sure, it's always this type of action have been done during this, South African apartheid. There is direct actions which have been done against different criminals of South African regimes, and now we are trying to adopt some of these actions and bringing it to our Palestine movement. So we're not the only ones who's doing such action. For Ronnie have done about 2, 3, 4 actions before. Our friends in the US have also, a student for justice in Palestine in the US have been doing different actions, and also some Jewish or Palestinian group in different other countries in New Zealand and Australia have been doing that type of action. And for sure, as humanists and people who care about our moral duties and and about also the failure of all this the moral failure around us, around the world, where we see all this apartheid running, we see all these crimes against humanity is running, and we need to do something. And I think the least as activists we could do is to just tell her that you are a representative of Israeli apartheid, and your place is not here. Your place in The Hague in the International Court of Justice. And if it is up to us, as three of us, I think we would love so much to do a citizen arrest for her, because Aliza Lavie, for your information, is one of the main, is one of the, like, let's say, undercover criminals. How undercovers that you don't hear about. There is the ones that you know, which is Benjamin Netanyahu, Olmert, those like big guys, you know, that you know of. But this person was heading the anti-BDS lobby in the Knesset. So, and she's responsible of speaking out loud against BDS and solidarity actors. She's responsible of noticing anybody who comes to BDS or Palestine activities around Europe, going to speak in European Commission about how we dismantle BDS. How do we silence the Palestinian voice? How do we persecute the Palestinian voice? How do we how we do character assassination for the Palestine activists around? Is one thing. The other thing is the fact that this person was from November 2013 until December 2014. She was the responsible of, she was one of the main direct criminals responsible in the committee, the defense, the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, which was directly involved in the massacre of Gaza 2014. You know, where you saw my comrade Stavit was telling her, you don't have no shame, you know, and the problem, those people has no shame, you know, but it is when this person is still going outside and speaking out loud and against us, while she was that, I mean, when I say direct responsible, you know, this is, we have a little room. This room is like maybe 10 people inside the committee.
It's a small, yeah, right.
It's a small room. It's a very this room, you know, to be inside this committee is where, like, just like you be really, like, that was the time when the massacre of Gaza happening during summer. She was directly responsible of all the crimes that been happening there. So I believe it was, for us, it was very painful to see her in front of us, and also for her to come and speak on many levels. Yani, she spoke about, first she started speaking about the promised lands of Israel and how promised it for them by Jesus, and how it is for 4,000 or 5,000 years for the Jewish people and have to return back to the Jewish people, you know. Starting from this discourse, it is like, it's disrespectful to justice and to human rights and to international law, you know. And going to speak of us as people who call for justice and dignity and freedom and equality in Palestine, Israel, like as an idiot. So who are those BDS people that is trying to dismantle Israeli apartheid, what they call apartheid, you know? Sure, this terminology for them is very threatening because they know it's the truth, but they don't want to confront us with. But we come in the front and we do that. We do our duty.
So, before going into the trial itself, we had 2 hearings over the past month, which were quite interesting. But before going into that, let's talk about why we took this action and the whole setup, the whole situation that we're in, especially in Berlin. I think that you're also quite familiar with the case because you know, you're familiar with the German-speaking countries and how it is not that easy to speak up against Israeli crimes, but especially so in Berlin. Aliza Lavie arrived on a mission, on a Hasbara mission, on a propaganda mission, specifically to tackle BDS. That is actually quite a good sign. Why did she go, and along with other members from her political party, they had prepared, they had a couple of meetings ahead of time. in Israel, also known as Palestine. They had a meeting, meetings to prepare for that mission, and they were specifically heading to Germany in order to tackle BDS. The fact that they are doing that, that is already a very good sign. It means that they are, at the very least, concerned about what we represent. And then the question is, what do we represent that they are so concerned about? What the BDS campaign demands, what we demand, are three fundamental rights. One is the ending of the military occupation of 1967. The West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem are militarily occupied since 1967, and the people under this harsh and brutal occupation deserve to be free from that occupation. Secondly, those who are currently second-class citizens inside Israel, or what we call Palestine 48, those Palestinians who are currently second-class citizens, they are 20% of the population, they deserve to have full equality. And finally, and most importantly, the rights of the refugees, those who have been expelled from their land during the creation of the State of Israel and ever since, and to this day are living in forced exile for the past 7 decades, they deserve the right to go back home. Okay, these are the demands. Equality or freedom for those who are under occupation, equality for those who are currently subjugated second-class people, and finally, justice, return for the refugees who are in exile. Why are they in exile? For one and only one reason, because they have the wrong ethnicity. Because Israel was founded for one and only one select group of people that Stavit and I happen to belong to. And we live there at the expense of the others, and this is not acceptable to us. We demand the rights of all the people of that land. This is what the BDS campaign is about. When we speak this language, and when we discuss all three rights of the Palestinians, not only the ending of the occupation of 1967, but when we amalgamate, when we consolidate these three demands into one consolidated demand, this is apparently something that's very frightening for Israel. So they send their emissaries, they send their people around the world to try to convince the world that BDS is this frightening terror group or whatever they want to call it. They have a recent report about that. They call it terrorists in suits. Okay, that's their attempt to discredit us and so on. But our attempt to discredit Israel is very easy. We just tell the truth. We just tell you what Israel is all about. And we also want to tell her what Israel is all about, because I'm not sure that she understands what she represents. So we went there to clearly express our dissent, to clearly express the notion that there is absolutely nothing legitimate about her presence in an academic institution or her presence as a representative of a criminal apartheid regime. And until Israel abides by its obligations under international law, until it respects these three rights that I mentioned before, we should carry on, and we will carry on, speaking up against these very crimes. Until equality, freedom, and justice will prevail. Sooner or later, they will prevail.
Thank you. It is often that we meet the question of how do we dare to compare South African apartheid to Israel? Because as we all know, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. So here it's important to clarify that us saying that Israel is an apartheid state, a race state, it's not a matter of opinion. It's not my subjective understanding of Israel being a racial apartheid, but it is rather a legal definition that is very that is clarified, very it's very clear to see it in the legal documents that we have, namely the Rome Statute and the recent Tilly and Falk UN report, which show beyond any doubt that Israel practices the crime of apartheid. And the Tilly and Falk report is especially crucial to our action, because our comrade Ronnie was holding the report while he was challenging Apartheid representative Aliza Lavie and asking her to read the report and handing the report to her by hand. So it is not us who are trying to push forward to this definition, but it's rather the most accurate and legally binding definition describing what's happening in Israel. And this paradigm enables us to shift from the occupation paradigm, the 67, Israel committing a crime since 67. No, that's not the case. Israel has practiced systematic institutional crime, oppressing Palestinian people from its very inception. And the whole project was a project of domination and control of Palestinians, even before it was just conceived theoretically. So that's one aspect that it's very important to make it clear. And of course, the kind of action we engaged has earned us a significant backlash from media. Basically all German media and Israeli media were smearing us. It was a very unpleasant process to be a part of. But actually, it only goes to show how fearful the authorities are from people speaking up and naming Israel as what it actually is, namely a racist apartheid state. And it is here, and not only that, they've taken us to court on a bogus accusation, on bogus accusations, again, only showing how really scared they are. And this actually gives us it actually boosts our position, and it shows us that we are on the right track. And not only us, but people who openly dare and speak up and name Israel as an apartheid state is exactly what it fears most. And this is the kind of line of action that I encourage everybody to take, no matter what the consequences are. Because doing that is the most important, the most crucial act of solidarity that we can do today, while seeing the Palestinian community being pushed into surrendering. And the price that we might pay for such action is pale in comparison to what Palestinians are experiencing, and it is really pale in comparison to the consequence of having a pacified, neutralized, and silencing society that overlooks crimes against humanity. So the cost of silencing is by far much more expensive, so to speak, than the price that we might pay in going to court or having some petty penalties.
Yeah, you know, the problem is all the time is victimhood. Like it's this is like always a struggle between in their own terminology as a state. You know, they're trying to soften the narrative. They're trying to make themselves as a victim, and even our like you all, I believe, most faces I kind of know here. You know, we see their struggle in finding with Gaza, for example, those poor, placated, ghettoed people for all years, still the oppressors of the Israeli citizens and Israel. You know, that is like how they really can't live because we are like bad to them. You know, and it's that location where still they are trying to keep the victimhood. In that big narrative, let's say, just I can speak a lot about it, but I'm not going there. We can see it through our court. Just to give you a feedback, when we did our court, when we made the action mainly, what they said we were 20 people outside. There were 3 of us. They said that we were 20 people waiting for them outside, and those 20 people, they couldn't. That she, Aliza Lavie, and her other people, you know, they couldn't manage to go from the front door of the university, and they had to go from the emergency, you know, And that is one thing. And that's important because I'm going back to the victimhood, how also fabrication works, because this goes to the media. Anybody of you read it, you know, I received many letters from people just saying, oh my God, what you did you do that to the Holocaust survivor? I'm back to the Holocaust survivors because I will go and get back to the victimhood position. There was another Holocaust survivor. I'm sure nobody saw anything about her here, and we didn't talk about her because it's not about her. It's about the representative of Israeli apartheid. That is where we were targeting. So what they're trying to do is to make it all in Germany as it is. We insulted, you know, a Holocaust survivor, which we have. Even you saw in the video, we never talked to her. We never said anything to her. We only talked to the Israeli apartheid representative. And that tells about how they play. They try to fabricate their issues. Even in the court, they always want to tell the judge, you know, the witnesses that they brought, they want to tell the judge, emphasizing so much about the fact, you know, we couldn't know what to do after they left. You know, and I have to look for the witnesses. They're responsible of the Zionist lobby. They had to look for a way that they can go out while them feeling safe. Okay, so the guy who was responsible was very smart. You know, he just thought about how he go around the university that he can, and that was very present in their narrating their story. You know. And it's very, for this, like, seriously, it's really funny for me to see how can you fabricate and how can you color a story just to put yourself in this, to withdraw people from the real narrative, you know, which is, or the real discourse and story, which is speaking of crimes against humanity in Gaza, speaking about apartheid regimes which is practiced ongoingly, it's ethnic cleansing of Palestinian practice for years, you know, and this person was responsible. What is more important in that location, you know? Yani it's just easy to figure out how this works, but also this challenging this and looking into that from a German misplaced guilt. It's so it's hard to deal with, but luckily we as Humboldt 3 we managed to really twist the narrative and challenge the narrative, and I'm really happy because we did that, because they went to take us for trespassing and assault, and we told from the beginning we are taking Israel to court, you know, and that being that I think that very clear about our stance, you know, that we are not apologetic, we are really having great opportunity. Thank you so much. It's so good that you made all this fabrication. So you think that you're smart, it's the best thing that you can do. And you know, seriously, the first second you see all this Google and all this article that comes against you every week, you know, you feel like, oh my God, every week there is an article against us. You guys are this and this. Until the intelligent German report went out on extremism in Germany, you know, and to find out that you are the extremist in Germany, you know. Yeah. So by the intelligent German reports, you can imagine an intelligence agency of a country like Germany, you know, putting you as in the extremist report together with ISIS, you know. Yani, you know, you want to laugh, you want to cry, you don't know what to do, but you were sure about one thing. You're sure about the complicity of Germany in Israeli crimes against humanity. You start to become sure how state violence and how they try to oppress our voice and silently persecute us in this brutal way from all directions, that we ourselves were like, guys, calm down, you know, the Secret Service will come, I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, but it felt for a moment, it felt we will find securities at our homes, you know, coming to take us, and that is how this dimension also can, I think, would draw you out of the main discussion and the main things, because the main discourse and challenge, which is to challenge Israeli apartheid. But we were not withdrawn, and we continued And we in the court did not do any of that. We only took Israel to court.
And we have a great opportunity now. I mean, thank you, State of Israel, thank you, the German intelligence agency and so on, for doing all of this, because now we have an opportunity, a real opportunity, to speak about what matters. And yeah, I think what my comrades here said were very important, the things that were said, because it's not about being apologetic. It's not about trying to find a way out of this, but actually to use this opportunity, which is a great opportunity, to speak about what really matters. So the first thing that we did, once there was this media frenzy against us, a couple of days after the event itself, we published a statement. And the statement is titled, "Speaking Up in Times of Apartheid." And then we explained why we needed to do this, the legitimacy behind our actions, the need to speak up against Israeli crimes. We also stated very clearly that we also speak on behalf of others, and we named a few key figures, basically Jewish figures in the past who were struggling against Zionism, because you may know that there is a long-standing Jewish struggle against Zionism ever since the Zionist idea came into being. So for the past 120 plus years, we have a long-standing struggle of Judaism versus Zionism. And we refer to that as well. And in the end, we also refuted some of the claims that were said about us in the papers. For example, that we were 20 people when we were 3 and so on. And then with that type of thinking, with that type of statement, we also went to the court. And we said, no, we're not here to answer this or that question about how many minutes did we stand and which way we were facing and so on. We will leave that to the legal, those who want to do the legalistic discourse. We have another legal discourse, which is important to us, and this is far more important. This is what Stavit mentioned before, which is the discourse about crimes against humanity. Because it so happens that Israel is indeed an apartheid state, along with practicing other violations, other criminal policies, it is also practicing the crime of apartheid. Apartheid is defined by law as a crime against humanity, so it is on par with genocide. And it means that every country in the world is obligated to fight against it. Certainly not to support it. And it means that also bodies, public bodies and universities and so on, are obligated by law not to allow these things to happen. So basically, we were doing Humboldt University a favor by correcting their error and going there and telling them, no, you should not host this type of representative here. Listen to the law and do not host this type of person. So this is kind of the type of discourse that we are offering to the court. So far it was quite interesting. The judge let us express this type of discourse. What happened next is that after 2 sessions in court, for some German technicalities, for some legal technicality, the judge could not arrive at a decision. At the same time, she could also not schedule another hearing within the time that she was supposed to in order to continue the session. And that means that everything is now, everything starts over. We have a restarting of the trial. Beautiful. So it means that we have more time to discuss Israeli apartheid, more time to challenge the system. And we're calling on you to join us and to do this effort together, because it's really not just about the 3 of us. We are simply using this opportunity that landed in our lap in order to speak about what really matters.
Yeah, I think on the personal, the emotional level, being attacked, being smeared, being politically persecuted, being taken to court as a criminal and sitting on the defendant chair is something that could unstable everyone, basically. But this is exactly the point where where not to see it as or to use this attack on us, not to withdraw and to shy away or to cave in or to be apologetic about what we did, but actually turning the tables and using this opportunity to go after the racial apartheid state of Israel. Because we have international law on our side, and we have so we can say, the morality on our side. And this is why I have no fear whatsoever of the consequences, and I have no fear of the future, for that matter, continuing to engage this kind of action and this kind of line of argumentation, despite all the lines and despite all the smear which media can just go on and do it. We'll continue doing what we understand as the moral imperative of our time, which is to speak up against a race state. And actually what I was saying to the judge in my declaration, referring to our great source of inspiration, the Weiße Rose resistance, I was basically quoting the Weiße Rose and asking the judge and asking the courtroom, basically asking the whole German society, has your experience been so crushed by abuse that you have forgotten that it's not only your right, but your moral duty to overthrow this system? So my spirit has not been crushed yet. And as long...
Never.
Oh, sorry?
It will never.
It will... Thank you, Habibi. Yani, and it hasn't been crushed yet. And as long as it's not crushed, I will continue on speaking against the racist state of Israel. And once it is crushed, only then I will be silenced. But until then, no. Until then, I will continue to voice my opposition and will continue to call for resistance, by all means, against this barbaric, systemic apartheid.
Yeah. So I think it's an invitation for all of us, I think, to be alarmed and to see the consequences. I believe the power that you see in Stavit or in me or in Ronnie, it is somehow overestimated. No, but it's something beautiful. I think we've gone also, as we're human beings, and we've gone through great personal growth, and I think joining the Palestine movements and trying to be really strict about justice and human rights and equality, trying to really learn to not be neutral, learn to not be pragmatic, about injustice, because you can't be pragmatic about inequality and injustice. Seeing apartheid should make you angry. Seeing injustice should make you angry. Seeing colonialism should make you angry. And should make you, I wouldn't say angry, I don't think Swiss people like to be angry very much. I would say should make you alarmed and should tackle your moral duties and also your privileges, since you're here and you can speak, and that is the opportunity we have. We're here, we can speak. I don't know if you're in Israel, Palestine, we maybe will not be able to speak. You'll find us in prison or maybe shot or whatever, but we're here. And we're speaking, and I think this journey, I would say, it shakes you, for sure. Every discussion, it's a human discussion. It shakes you, It makes you like, you can come and say when they first come, because it's shocking, when you receive all this like this, you see your name in Google, for example, and see that every day there is something going against you, and you're like, it's like smashed, and you're not really ready, because there are Zionists and Hasbara are working really hard, and they were working very hard in our case. But happily, there was this overwhelming solidarity that is that hold us, and that's what we always need. When I was in Copenhagen, that is thanks to our friends and comrades from different parties, and some people, just really a small amount of people, they have done really great and managed to lit the Copenhagen mayor, Nina, and the municipality of Copenhagen to give us the Courageous Award, from the Copenhagen municipality. And that tells a lot about the power of the people, because we are honored in Copenhagen and persecuted in Berlin, and that gives a huge, for all the attack that happened against us, when Copenhagen city, a mayor, come and just give us the Courageous Award in the Copenhagen municipality, and that is by the push of the people. You know, it's really grassroots movements and members in certain parties have managed to push such a word and such solidarity, which also like created a discussion, because I created another opportunity for us to speak up, and I created another opportunity for us to tell the others that we are only a model, an example of all of you guys, you know, because this award is for the BDS movements, and we're honored to take it in behalf of them. The second thing is the amazing, overwhelming solidarity from our comrades in the courts. Like, we're really happy that over like 8-9 countries visited us. You know, the court was full, like completely full. People were just going out, changing chairs, trying to put people in and out. Like 40-50 people were inside. Outside there were another 70-60 people. They stayed all the time. They woke up at 6:30 in the morning. You know, they stayed until 2 in the afternoon. You know, so, and from the Zionists there were over like 4 or 5 people. You know. So that tells a lot about how strong, and I always say that tells about how powerful and how are we really behind justice, and how we are so many, and those are speaking the voice of Hasbara and the voice of injustice and the voice of inequality. There are very few, you know, but we need to use those resources to show. And even the second court, we were also a lot of people. You know, the court was full, outside was the same, so people even kept the rhythm and stood. Many musicians came and sang. We shouted like crazy at the place, so that was that was good. Therefore, we need your help for sure. But also you're welcome to ask us questions if anybody, if all of you have family, relative, friends, people you know that maybe you never thought of and can do something for us. Soon we are. Can I speak about it? Okay, super. Because I sometimes feel I talk so much, you know, because it's like a ball going. We have 2 things. The first thing is we have a petition that should be running soon. This petition is about endorsing us. As you know, or if you read a bit, there is the renowned, amazing Richard Falk professor, you know, which my comrade Stavit have mentioned, and Virginia Telly, they were with them. I didn't have the honor to meet her, but they both endorse us very harshly. Roger Water also endorse us. Many other comrades and friends and people, really, BDS campaign, all of them, the movements is behind us, you know, and that is, and we still need you on this petition, because if now we have 3 months, we need to keep them busy, you know, and we need to really challenge the universities and get apartheid off campus in Germany, since Palestinians are very silent. Palestine voice in Germany is very threatened. You know, we are like it's not ourselves alone. Jewish Voices for Peace have been since the Nazi time. First time they were banned, their bank account were frozen and banned, you know. They recently also have not received a privilege for them. Maybe it's the a peace prize that is we're also not giving to them, but people gave it to them, you know, and they managed to fundraise 28,000 euros, where the prize should be only 3,000 euros, you know, and so we are a lot, you know. Also in other field, we have Rasmiya Oda coming to she's a freedom fighter, Palestinian, and to Berlin, and also there have been huge threats and a huge Zionist overlap and fabrication, twisting of narrative, which we really can deal with very much, but we are fighting as much as we can solidly to change it. So those all, like, since Berlin, as Ronnie said, there's a front line. So we have a petition that we need your help with, and we have a fundraiser, right? That we need, that will come soon. And we would like your help, because also the cost of the lawyers now is a lot, because we have 2 courts, and now since they are doing another 2, maybe 2 courts, so it's gonna be a bit tough on us. So we'll be very happy if anybody have a bit of money and a bit of help, or to know somebody who can support, would be great. And the petition that is the more important for us is to find academic in the University of Bern or other universities that can sign and endorse our petition. We will send it through Roman and our comrades here, and that would be great if you can help us with. If you want to add something.
Does anyone else have questions, comments?